Jalen Duren's potential contract extension will help shape the Detroit Pistons' future. In today's episode, we crunch the numbers, look at his market league-wide, compare it to other contracts, and figure out how much is Jalen Duren worth. Talk about it. Today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years with the Locked On Network, been a credential media member over the last 3 years. And as always, I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. I can't wait for that fantasy football to get going, man. But visit the FanDuel app today and start playing your futures bets today. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the Pistons getting national TV games. We'll discuss it a little bit later. And also, NBA2K, one of my favorite games is coming. Yes, I know. Call me a clown, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. 2K, one of my favorite games, is coming out in a few weeks. We're starting to see some 2K ratings get revealed. So instead of just relying on 2K's crappy rating system, I'm going to reveal what I would rate the Detroit Pistons roster if I was the head rating system, whatever they call the guy over at 2K. I'll reveal what my ratings for the team will be a little bit later. But first, we got to start with Jalen Duren and what his contract extension could look like, and how much is he worth. In the last episode, we discussed how much is Jaden Ivey worth. We broke it down. We looked at contracts league-wide, all that good stuff. Talked about the value, or the market, I should say, for his type of position and what his type of archetype is being valued at in the NBA today. We're going to do the same thing here today with Jalen Duren, because Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey's extensions are clearly, I think, the biggest, outside of the Malik Beasley stuff. I think even still, they're the biggest topics of the offseason, because this is going to impact the Pistons' future. Their current situation, but obviously their future as well. They're starting to get into a position where they have to start making these decisions. Like I said, last episode we talked about Jaden Ivey, so if you want to check it out and you haven't already, go to the last episode. But let's talk about Jalen Duren. Where I want to start off with is this. I'm going to reveal some contracts from some guys across the league where I believe, if I was Jalen Duren's agent, and I believe his agent probably is doing this, I think it's common to do this, and I think it's reasonable to suggest that they're doing this. You're going to look at comparable contracts across the league and be like, okay, I'm worth that. I think I'm worth that much. So let's start with Naz Reid. He signed an extension or a contract. He's going to be making $25 million a year. Jared Allen, he signed a contract extension that will be making him $28 to $32 million a year. Isaiah Hartenstein, I apologize for my phone going off right there. Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be making around $29 million a year. Nicholas Claxton, he has a contract that's going to be making around $24 million. Jakob Poeltl, he'll be making around $28 million a year. And then here's some guys that aren't making $20+ million that I think are in the same category as Jalen Duren. Daniel Gafford, he's making $18 million a year. And then the Los Angeles Clippers got away with an absolute steal of getting Zubac at $19 million a year right now. Absolute steal. That's his average value. I think it goes up a little bit in his later years, but that's the average value. $19 million. That's an absolute steal for the Clippers. Zubac is one of the best bigs in the league. Could have made All-NBA third team this year. He's tremendous. Getting him for that might be the best contract in the entire NBA. But those are the contracts of the bigs. Comparable, I'd say, in the same, I think Zubac is way ahead, but you get what I'm saying. Other centers who have signed recently, this is what the market looks like. If you look at Duren compared to these players, I think Duren will feel like he has an argument that he's better than Gafford, that he's better than Claxton, and I think he'll try and make the argument that he's better than Hartenstein or Poeltl. Now, Hartenstein starts and then also comes off the bench, whatever, for OKC, but Hartenstein's tremendous. I don't know if the Pistons will budge on that one. Jakob Poeltl, I just put out a poll on Twitter asking who Pistons fans think is better. Overwhelmingly are saying that Jalen Duren is better. But I think Poeltl is a way better defender, and he has a good little floater as well. I like Jakob. He signed that extension. I think that was a good extension for him. I think he's pretty damn good. And then Zubac, we're going to kind of throw that contract out because I don't think it's fair for either side to say, well, look what Zubac is making. He's making $19 million. Why should we pay you more? Because that's more of just like you got an absolute steal. No one else is going to be held to that. But we'll bring that up actually a little bit later. So I think Duren, if I was his agent, I'm probably looking at Claxton's contract where he's making around $24 million a year and say, okay, we're better than Claxton. We want Claxton's money. Now, is Jalen Duren better than Claxton? I think he's definitely better than him offensively. I think he's a better passer, better playmaker. He's a better ball handler. I think he's a better lob threat, even though Claxton is pretty good as a lob threat as well. But I think Duren is a better lob threat. I think he has better hands offensively as well. I think overall offensively, Jalen Duren is just better. Defensively, I think Claxton is much better than Duren as well. But I think you got to factor in that Jalen Duren's chemistry with Cade Cunningham offensively is going to factor into this, and how much Cade loves playing with Duren, and how much, again, their chemistry is, how good their chemistry is. So I think that will get factored in. So I think Duren will ask for around $24+ million. I think he's going to, if I was Duren, I would ask for 24 plus, but I would probably settle at somewhere between $22 and $26 million a year. I think that's what the contract he should ask for. And I think Duren should look at the contract that Jabari Smith Jr. just signed. I believe that contract is, hold on, let me pull that up. I should have had that up for you guys already. I just looked at it last episode. It's $22.5 million a year, I believe. He's going to be making. That's the annual amount. But it's at a 5-year contract extension he signed with the Houston Rockets for $122 million. And that would even, I believe, to $24.5 million. And I would look at that contract and be like, okay, I want what Jabari got. Jabari's in my draft class. He just signed his extension. He's a two-way, but he's not a star player either. He's a good role player, just like me. I'm not a superstar, but I am a good role player. I'm a good starter. I believe I'm a good starter here. I want Jabari's money. So I would settle between $22 to $26 million, and I think $24 million would be a good settling point for both teams. I think for both sides, I should say. For the Pistons and for Jalen Duren. Duren, I think he'd be okay with $24 million. That's my opinion. I think the Pistons probably would feel okay giving him $24 million. I think they'd like to get him a little bit lower than that, somewhere around $22 million. I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up coming to an agreement where he makes around $22.5 million. What's that over 4 years? That's a 4-year, $90 million contract, right? Yeah, 4 years, 90. I could see the Pistons coming to agreement on like a 4-year, 97. You could just go up to 4 years, 100, and give him 25. Somewhere around there, 4 years, 90 to 4 years, 100. I think that's probably where his value is as of right now when you're also projecting into the future as well. However, now that we brought that up, I do want to bring up something that has to be answered. I'm 100% sure this is on the Pistons' minds as well. It's something that they need to have answered as well. It's that, what is Jalen Duren like without Ausar Thompson? I'm going to bring up the numbers. We've talked about this a ton. I can tell you guys right now, I am not speculating. This is something that's been brought, that people are aware of. Now, don't know what side they sit on, and I think it's going to be on the positive side. I think they're probably going to extend Jalen Duren if it's either one between him or Ivy. But I know this is something that they've considered and a topic that comes up. Any smart front office would have this come up. But what is Jalen Duren without Ausar Thompson? We saw Jalen Duren struggle with the first half of the year and then take the next step in the second half of the year and look a lot better. How much of that they have to figure out, do they believe? Because when you're paying someone long-term, you're not just paying them long-term because of the other players around them. You're paying them long-term because you believe in them as an individual player. How much of Jalen Duren's improvement was due to Ausar Thompson? Now, when Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson were on the floor together, they outscored opponents by 4.52 points per 100 possessions. But the most important part was that the defensive rating dropped to 113.7, which is really good. Very good. We talked about the starting lineup being amazing to end the year. The defensive rating of that lineup was a top 5 defense in the league. But when you took Ausar off the floor this past year, when Jalen Duren played without Ausar in the regular season, that defensive rating went from 113 to 119.4. Now, you have to figure out, 1, is that because of Jalen Duren? 2, is it more because without Ausar Thompson, there's no other good defenders on the floor, or no other great defenders on the floor, whatever. And Duren's playing with a lot of, mediocre defenders. I tend to lean towards more Duren struggles himself defensively, but he also is, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's more so Duren needs to improve defensively, but I think he also would probably be helped by not playing with so many mediocre defenders at all times. But I think that Duren has to improve it individually, defensively. Then you go to the playoffs. In the playoffs, when Duren and Ausar were on the floor, they outscored the Knicks by 7.1 points per 100 possessions. Pistons sure just ran that lineup into the ground. The little half-court offense stuff, I know I've even brought it up. It is something that you have to figure out for the long term, 100%. But in the playoffs, they dominated the Knicks with Ausar and Duren on the floor. I mean, they just pummeled them. Defensively, they couldn't do anything with them. So when they were on the floor together, our defensive rating of 105.0, and again, they outscored the Knicks by 7.1 points. You take Ausar off the floor, and you keep Duren on the floor, it goes from a 105 defensive rating to a 127 defensive rating. And the Pistons were outscored by 21.6 points. 21.6 points with Duren on the floor without Ausar Thompson in the playoffs. The Pistons have to figure out before they decide to pay Duren long term. And maybe because of that question, they wait into the regular season. I wouldn't be shocked if they do this. Maybe they wait it out, go to restricted free agency. But what the Pistons have to figure out is when you're paying a big man, when you're paying your 5-man of the future, he has to be able to hold down the fort defensively. He has to be able to be an anchor defensively, or just not be, or at least be passable defensively. He made some improvements. I very much like Duren, especially offensively. I've talked a ton about how I think he's just a superb talent offensively. And I do think he made some minor improvements defensively, especially in the second half of the year. But the question still remains, the numbers show it. How much of those improvements were due to Ausar Thompson being on the floor? And if Ausar Thompson was gone, would Jalen Duren and the defense, when Jalen Duren's on the floor, crater to the earth? Like, would it just fall off the face of the earth? They have to figure that out. If they don't believe that Duren can survive defensively in the future, not last year is last year, whatever, you're paying for the future now. If you don't believe Jalen Duren is going to get to a point that unless he's playing with arguably a top 5 defender in the league, if he's not playing with that guy, the defense will just fall off the earth. If that's what they believe, I think I would be hesitant to pay him long term. But if you do believe, because of how supremely talented he is offensively, if you believe that, okay, he made these steps, we believe he's going to be a passable defender, and it won't just fall off the face of the earth in the future when Ausar comes off the floor, I think you're then comfortable paying him because of his talent offensively, because of how he fits with Cade, and how he fits with Ausar, because of the passing between the two on the interior. I think that's the main question that has to be answered, and I think we'll figure out which side they land on, at least as of right now. Doesn't mean they'll move Duren, but I think you'll figure out how comfortable or how confident they are in that answer, whether he gets an extension this offseason. If he doesn't get one this offseason, by the way, that doesn't mean he won't get one in the future. I'm not, like, just because he doesn't get one now doesn't mean the Pistons don't sign him to a 4-year, 5-year contract in restricted free agency next year. That's probably a likely scenario. But, again, that's the question that has to be answered. So let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter, @Ku Khahil. How do you guys feel about this? What side are you guys on with this? Do you guys want to extend Duren? Do you guys not want to? How much money would you extend him for? And for this question we've talked about, do you believe that Jalen Duren is going to get to a point where when Ausar is off the floor, the defense won't fall off the face of the earth? Let me know all of this. Comment section down below or over on Twitter, @Ku Khahil. Coming up, I can't wait for this one. This is going to be a lot of fun. For all my gamers out there, all my 2K players, 2K is coming out in a few weeks. They're starting to reveal some ratings for 2K26. Screw their ratings. I'm going to give my ratings what the Pistons roster should look like when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, again, for just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. For me, August 26th rolls around. I'll be taking the flyer on another MVP incoming for my guy Lamar Jackson. I think that will be incoming. And you know what? I'll go ahead and go full on Baltimore Ravens. August 26th, I'll go ahead and make my futures bet that the Baltimore Ravens finally get over the hump and they win the Super Bowl this year. My guy Lamar Jackson cements himself as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play football. That's the kind of thing you can do over on FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app today and start playing your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only on August 26th. That was FanDuel. Play your game. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel @Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I have some quality of life updates real quickly for you guys before we move on. Check out the Substack, link down below, or if you don't see the link, KuKhahil.substack.com. We just wrote an article breaking down how much Jaden Ivey is worth. We wrote an article breaking down Marcus Sasser's season, how he could be a hidden gem with some film breakdowns. We have a ton of film breakdowns over there, a ton of articles over there. I got content coming to you guys all the time over there. So again, KuKhahil.substack.com, links down below. Also, I am streaming video games. You guys know I'm a gamer. I'm going to be streaming games. You want to come over, hang out, talk Pistons with me, talk NBA while I play some video games. Check it out, link down below. Or again, if you don't see the link, twitch.tv/KuKhahil7. I'd love to see you guys over there. I'm going to be streaming mostly in the mornings. So if you guys want to go over and hang out with me, we can talk whatever while we play some video games. That's cool too. Also, for those of you guys watching on YouTube, look at this. We got some merch. Locked On Pistons hoodie right here. Now, unfortunately, merch is not available for everybody else. Sorry, this is only for me. But I had to show it. Look how cool this looks. I love it. And then the last thing is, for those of you guys also watching on YouTube, the background, by the time the season starts, we're having a whole reshape. I'm redesigning my game room, my recording room. It's going to be looking dope back here. Give me a month. We're going to be taking the next level. But now we can move forward. 2K is coming out in a few weeks. We're already starting to see people's ratings revealed. And this is a topic I think I've done every single offseason. This is a common topic that people do. What would you rate your insert X teams players overall? How would you rate them? So I'm going to go ahead and do it because 2K over the last few years, I feel like has been absolutely horrible with ratings. Not only do I feel like a lot of the players, it feels like they just don't watch some of the players, but also this is why my biggest gripe with 2K's ratings. I've seen a lot of people have this gripe over the last few weeks. I've been seeing people say this. 2K has a rating system that goes from 0 to 99. But yet, it seems like it only really used 75 to 99. Everyone's in 75 to 99. You could be the worst player in the league, and you're a 75 overall. You could be the 15th best player in the league, and you're a 96 overall. Like that, you should be using the entirety of the 0 to 99 rating system. There should be more 50 overalls. There should be 60 overalls. There maybe even should be 40 overalls. Like, you should use the entirety of that rating system and spread out the talent. Okay? You have to spread it out. I think 2K14 or 2K15 did this where LeBron was like a 96, Steph was a 94, and there was only 3 other 90s. That was the best one with the ratings. So that's how I'm going to do my ratings for the Pistons. Go ahead and spoil it for you guys. They don't have 5 90s. I'm not giving Cade a 97. I'm trying to use the entirety of the rating scale to make it more realistic. So now we start with Cade Cunningham. I think Cade should walk into this year and be a 92 overall. I think an all-NBA team, with how well he played this past year, getting the Detroit Pistons to the first round, winning a playoff game, breaking the playoff win drought. We all know everything Cade did this past year. I think that's good enough for a 92 overall. I think his defense should elevate his overall. I saw a lot of people say he should be around a 90, 89. Again, these are people that want like the rating spread out. I think Cade's defense, along with his playmaking, everything he does offensively, because he's a 6'6", 6'7" guy who can defend and rim protect, I think defensive ratings should matter, and I think that should elevate him to a 92 overall. That's where I have Cade. I have the second best player on the Detroit Pistons being, obviously, the guy who was the second most impactful player on the team that as soon as he started playing, their whole season turned around. And I don't care if he can't shoot threes. I don't care if he can't shoot corner threes. I had some people DM me saying that there's some people in the community trying to compare him to Killian Hayes because he can't shoot threes. I think that's wildly insanity. I think that's just insane. But if you're in that camp, just stay in that camp and stay, don't say nothing to me in the comments or DM me about that, because if you're in that camp, I'm just going to classify you as insane. I'm not going to respond to you. But I'm going to go ahead and say Ausar Thompson is the second best player on the Detroit Pistons. And I have him as an 83 overall. I'm going to have his dunk rating super high. His athleticism is going to be an A+. But then his defense, while his offense ratings may not be great, his three-point rating will be probably like a 28, like a 30 or something. Okay, I get it. Free throw will probably be like a 65, 67 or something like that. His defense across the board would be like 90+ everywhere. Perimeter defense, lateral quickness, block, defensive rebound, offensive rebound. All of that's going to be 90+, along with all of his athleticism, being speed, quickness, jumping, strength. Like, all of it's going to be 90+. So that is all going to carry him to an 83 overall. And if he can become a much better offensive player, I think Ausar Thompson could creep up into the 86, 87, 88s. But I think the defense, That's another thing 2K does that I really dislike. It seems like offense gets credited way more in 2K, and then defensive players get like lowered for some reason. And you're going to see another player on this list I have pretty high because of his defense. But on Ku Khahil's ratings, we care about defense. We care about also my top 100 list I submitted to Locked On, that also cares about defense. So you'll see a lot of two-way guys, a lot of guys who are fantastic defenders above your just pure scoring guards or scoring wings that don't do much else. Guys like Ausar Thompson, Tamani Kamara, players like that. Next, I have Jalen Duren as an 81 overall. His rebounding carries him here. His finishing inside the paint. Obviously, his layup and dunk rating will be high. His strength will be incredibly high. His athleticism will be pretty high. His defensive ratings won't be very high, which is why he's going to be at an 81 overall. But everything involving being like an inside finishing big, he's going to be what people call, what's the 2K rating? A lob threat paint beast, a lob threat rebounding machine, like something like that. That will be what Jalen Duren's archetype is called when you get to the end of the player model. So I have Duren as an 81. That one was tough. Okay, I wanted to give this next player a better rating, but I gave it to Duren. I have Isaiah Stewart as an 80 overall. I think Stu's defense, again, with Ausar is great. I think his offensive rebounding will be pretty high. His defense is going to be high across the board. Block rating is going to be like a 95. His perimeter defense for a big is going to be like, I don't want to go crazy, but it's going to be like maybe a 78 for a big man that can switch out, something like that, along with his strength. All that's, I think I'm going to give Stu an 80 overall, along with his finishing getting much better this past year. We've broke that down in the podcast. We may do that again, actually, in a future episode, talk about how much better he got as a finisher this past year. And then also the ability to hit some threes. So we'll give him like a 76 3-point rating or 75 3-point rating, something like that. And I'll give Stu an 80 overall. Tied with Isaiah Stewart, I'll give Jaden Ivey an 80 overall. I think his 3-point rating will be pretty high. His athleticism, his quickness, speed with ball will be high. I saw the top 10 players with speed with ball. Jaden Ivey wasn't in there. I think he 100% should be in there. He's one of the fastest players in the league with the ball in his hands. He'll have all of that high. What keeps him down is the 80 overall. His defense will be a pretty bad rating. And his finishing in the paint, his layups will not be a high rating either. His close shot, and mid-range shot, all that stuff will be low. But his 3-point shot will be pretty high. Draw foul will be pretty high. Athleticism, pretty high. So I'll have Ivy as an 80 overall. Now we start getting into the veterans. I have Tobias as a 79 overall. I don't think I need to dive further into that. Fine veteran player, good rotation player, good role player, nothing crazy. Tobias does his job. LeVert, I have him as a 77 overall. He could be even maybe a little higher if you were higher on his past season than I was, but I gave him a 77 overall. Duncan Robinson, I'm giving him a 77 overall. Great three-point shooter, 3-point rating, movement shooting, mid-range shooting, free throw. Underrated playmaker. I think that will be enough to get him to a 77 overall, but his defense is so bad that, honestly, his rating might get a little bit lower. And honestly, maybe I should lower it a little bit more because of the defense being so bad. But Ron Holland, this is one I think fans will probably be the most upset with. I have him as a 76 simply because you have to go off his rookie season. He had an impressive rookie season in a limited sample, but he didn't do nothing in the rookie season enough for me to elevate him higher than that. I'm sure other people probably have him lower. I will say that if Ron does take a step forward and play as well as we think he can this year, he's someone who could get into the 80 pluses by February. So that's just where I would have him right now. But I think out of anyone on this list, he has the most potential to fly up this rating system. And then the only other player that I did a rating for was Marcus Sasser, who I've talked a little highly about over the last few days, last week or so. But I do have him as a 71 overall. The offensive scoring stuff is all great, but I can't give much of anything else a higher rating. And with his height, I think the offensive stuff, all his scoring ability and the shooting was what keeps him at a 77. Everything else probably wants to try to lower him underneath the 70s. You could probably argue maybe. I had him originally as a 73, but then I thought about what I said at the beginning of this, where you have to use the whole rating system. So lowered him a little bit to a 71. So recap, this is how I would rate the Detroit Pistons that I really care about. Cade, 92, Ausar, 83, Duren, 81, Stu, 80, Ivy, 80, Tobias, 79, LeVert, 77, Duncan, 77, Ron, 76, and Marcus Sasser, 71. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. For those gamers out there, for my fellow 2K players, one, don't let people make fun of you for playing 2K. It's the only basketball game out there, and we like playing 2K. But also, two, how would you rate the Detroit Pistons players? What rating would you give them? Again, let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, we get a very brief preview into the Detroit Pistons season schedule, and it has national TV games. Who would have thought for the Detroit Pistons? We'll talk about it coming back. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Again, Substack, Twitch, description down below. Please hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 12,000 subscribers, trying to get there before the start of the season. All that good stuff. Pistons have some national TV games. Now, we only know 2 games. We only know 2 games of the schedule so far. I think I saw that the schedule will be coming out in the next few weeks or so. So it's coming soon. I'm going to have probably a little bit of a rant at the end of this about, you guys will see what I'm talking about. But yeah, the Pistons have been revealed that they will be playing on Martin Luther King Day, and they will be at home. And it will be, I believe, an NBC game. Let me double check that. Because I know the NBA just signed new rights with NBC and NBC Sports, correct. On Martin Luther King Day, they will be playing the Boston Celtics at home. Pistons will be at home, and they're the final game. They're the 8 p.m. game. So I think that's dope. I love to see that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Last time the Pistons played on Martin Luther King Day was 2018. So it's cool to see the Pistons getting back some national TV games, especially playing on Martin Luther King Day. I think that's a big time day to play on. I think the Pistons have a lot of respect, or have a lot of pride, I would say. I think that's the best way to say it, for playing on MLK Day. So I like seeing that. The Pistons also will be playing on October 27th on Peacock against I believe the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, October 27th on Peacock. If you don't know, the NBA signed new rights. They're no longer with TNT. They're going to be on NBC, and obviously, like I said, Peacock. So they'll be playing the Cavs on there. That's another. I don't know if you would even count. Is that technically a national TV game? I guess so. I guess you do count Peacock as like a national TV game. But those are the 2 previews we got. Here's the rant coming up. I guess I should say I do like the fact that the Pistons are getting more national TV games. I do expect them to get even more national TV games when we get the full schedule release. I think the Pistons obviously are one of the up-and-coming teams. Cade's becoming a pretty popular player. People like watching him. People like talking about him. So I think the Pistons will start to get even more national TV games. But here comes my rant. And if anyone listening to this podcast has any connections or something, let me know. But how is everybody watching the Pistons this year? Are we about to have to deal with the Bally Sports, app, or what is it? No, FanDuel sports package, where you have to buy cable, but then also you have to buy the FanDuel sports package, which is like $75 tagged onto your cable bill. You no longer can just watch them on cable, like with natural cable. I've tried this past year. I tried to get an upgraded cable package that included all of it. Didn't work all year. Just didn't work all year. Multiple times went to the FanDuel app to try to watch, blacked out, or it just wouldn't load. Had to find other ways to watch the Pistons all year, a team that plays 25 minutes for me, 20 minutes for me. I have to find crazy ways to watch them all year, because also, actually, I have a clear out for you guys, an easy way to get through this. Come to the Playback. I'll be hosting a playback room, live watch rooms all year long for every Piston game over on the Playback. That will be linked down below as well. You can watch games with me and the rest of the Pistons fan base. We would have 100+ people in there. We all just chopping it up, watching the game together. You get to see the game on the screen with me down in the little corner, whoever wants to come up on stage. So that's a way to get by it. I'm giving you guys some access there. But for those of you guys who aren't going to be in the Playback room, and for those of you guys who are out of state, or, all this stuff, or actually not even out of state, people are just in Michigan. How are we going to be watching the Pistons here? Can it be made easier? Please, whatever they decide, can it just be made easy? I remember the days of just turning on Channel 30 and watching it on Fox Sports Detroit. Can it be easy? Please, can it just be made easy? And if you do go with a different company and you guys change it again, can it be what? Can it one work, please? Can it please work? And two, can the directions to how to use it be simple? And can it just be attached to a cable package? Like, why am I going through all these hoops to just watch the Pistons play? I shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops just to watch a team play. Don't even get me started with League Pass. I think people who have League Pass know how bad League Pass has been. So I'd like to not have to jump through all these hoops to watch Piston games this year. I've seen all of you guys. A lot of you guys messaged me, commented all year last year asking why, what can you do to watch games? Why is it so hard? So please, on the behalf of all Pistons fans, can we make whatever broadcasting rights, whatever, broadcasting package, whatever it is, can it be made simple and easy for all Pistons fans to be able to watch? And for those who cover the team that aren't at every game, easier to watch. Please and thank you. I'd appreciate it. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Again, appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Till next time, I will see you guys later, and peace out, everybody.